A candidate for the Republican nomination for Congress in what will be the 21st Congressional District, a.k.a. the North Country. And he's running in a primary that occurs next Tuesday against Kelly Green, who will be our guest tomorrow. Mr. Doheny, how are you?
Great to be here, Mayor. We appreciate the opportunity, and thanks for putting this together.
Okay. All right, what's the deal? You got a primary, you got two candidates running, there's talk of a debate, for whatever that means, joint appearance or whatever, and they just can't get it together. What's the big hang-up? Is it going to occur?
I really don't know at this point in time. We had one organization that from up in Watertown sent overtures. We said, sure, we accept that, and we'll be there last Tuesday. Obviously, that didn't happen last night. And so, Mayor, we just keep on working hard. I'm very happy and blessed that I have the conservative and independence lines already. And so we're working quite hard all over this vast new 21st Congressional District to make sure that people know, as we said, to make sure they know there's a primary on June 26th.
For the Republican nomination.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've made a big deal out of the fact that you also have the conservative and independence line, a position you weren't in 2 years ago, unifying the three lines, assuming you win next Tuesday.
Absolutely, and that is a clear. If I lose, well,
you're still on the ballot on lines C and E.
As I said, 2 years ago, and I will continue to. If I lose, I will support the Republican nominee, and to do everything that I can do to make sure that that person's successful.
Or die to get off those
well, I don't plan on dying. I'm getting married in 10 days, for heaven's sakes,
okay,
Mr. Mayor. But to make the point, though, for the first time since Congressman became Secretary of the Army, we have the opportunity to make sure that there's a clear choice. We didn't have that in 2009. We didn't have that in 2010. And so to have someone who say, these are two different versions of where we're going as a country.
Let's assume you win. We'll be optimists and say you win.
Thank you.
So it would be you, Congressman Owens, and Mr. Hasig, who's the Green Party.
Ah, that's right.
Yeah, three-way race.
Yes.
It's going to be a three-way race no matter what. Now, would you commit now to a joint appearance with the three of you in this studio sometime in the month before the election?
Sure. That's why you're such a good newsman that you take, and I'm totally vulnerable here, and you come in for the kill, and the first 4 minutes you get me, you're here right now. But certainly, if we can have myself and the congressman, and if you want to, invite Mr. Hasig as well, that's fine. But certainly,
I have to consider voting for him.
Remember, Mayor, you're supporting me. Remember that? Okay. But anytime that there'll be an opportunity to have an actual full forum between myself and our current congressman, we're going to look for the opportunities, and we'll talk about that in the days to come after the primary.
Now, 2 years ago, when Hoffman was the stranded candidate on the C line, that hurt you. But do you think having Mr. Hasig in there, granted, I don't know what his campaign consists of, but the word green, the Green Party line, has a certain panache, particularly in the college towns of St. Lawrence County?
I'll let political pundits like you sort of formulate how much, and where those votes come from. But certainly, when you have folks like Howie Hawkins, in the Green Party down in Syracuse, or go back to 2000 with Ralph Nader, right, when he ran on the Green Line nationally and took, what did he take, like 1%, 2%, something like that Mr. Nader took? Mayor. Those things, so we'll see what happens. But look, we're focused on, having the opportunity starting on the night of June 26th when the primary results come in. Hopefully,
every presidential election since 1976 and never voted for a winner. So I don't want that to frighten you or anything. But
well, I'm not running for president, Mayor. So your streak may or may not live on that side, but not in Congress.
The media always describes you, because everybody's looking for the quick moniker, they describe you as Watertown businessman Matt Doheny. Sure. Now, that could mean you run a hot dog stand. It could mean you run something huge like the air brake. I don't know what it means, because although I've known you for 3 years, I really don't know what you do for a living.
Well, what I do is what I've done for the last decade and a half is as an investor, as a business person who basically goes out and looks at opportunities to go ahead and invest in and work with these businesses. So on a large scale, in terms of companies that are going under financial stress and need to be turned around, things that I've done over the past decade. For instance, I sit on the board of a company called YRC. Now, what that is the yellow and roadway trucking company. So every time you're down 81 or 90, you see a big truck that says yellow on it or a big truck that says roadway. we have regional carriers called New Pen. So if you see somebody pulling up down at the local Walmart with a New Pen, that's part of our trucking fleet. So we're one of the couple largest trucking companies in America, and they're going through a tough time.
Trucking magnate, or
I wouldn't say that. I'm on the board to make sure help the company go through the process to make sure that we're going in the right direction.
You talk about all this venture capital, and I know you've got your office down in the ag building and down in the basement.
And so the second thing we focus on is in terms of providing making investments in local businesses. And so people who either have a startup idea that a bank wouldn't get behind, or companies that just don't quite meet the asset criterion that a traditional asset-based lender would need to go ahead and provide that type of whether
You're
it's debt or
providing
equity.
for the private sector what all these government alphabet soup agencies provide.
We just try to do that in a way that that you can actually make a company more viable and to go forward and actually have that company be profitable. Because there's a lot of great things going on in the Watertown and North Country area.
Where do you give them, though?
What do you mean? Where do we
your
get
money? You're loaning your money?
Sometimes, yeah, sure. Sometimes with other investors, sure.
Okay, and you make the money through interest? Is that basically?
So, there's different ways you can make it through interest. You make it through, actually, having a part of the business where you're growing and becomes more profitable. Just like with your bar, Mr. Mayor, you know what? There's a lot of different ways. Think about how much your bar is worth now that has become such a landmark at the mayor's bar.
Right.
And how much value that you've created in your own enterprise.
Because you've been campaigning for 3 years, and is this something where you go into an office and do something? Is it like?
Of course, no, it's not day stop. Come on, don't be silly, Mayor. No,
I'm not being silly.
No, I know, but
that's the number one question I get.
And I'm telling you right now. I mean, this is so like tomorrow morning I'll have a board committee, one of our subcommittees on the yellow board to talk about how we're going to deal with replacing our truck fleet and have different proposals coming in terms of how we're going to replace certain parts of we're a long haul carrier. This is a national. So if you want to go ahead and pick up a pinball machine in Kansas City to deliver to your bar in Watertown, someone's going to deliver that. And so that's the type of service we do, and there's a million different pieces that go along with it. Unfortunately, it's a tough company right now.
The flip side is the public perception, the narrative, if you will, that is presented is that you're a Wall Street wheeler dealer, well, the image that they try to present.
Yeah, but I grew up in Alex Bay, 65 High Street. I live at 303 Paddock Street. I go to work, every day when I'm not on the road, what you call the Ag Building over 215 Washington Street. And, there's a lot of different ways, to make a living. Mine, I choose to, work with people and businesses that either starting off or, have non-traditional needs or actually flat out, in financial trouble. And so that's what gives me the skill set and the background to understand the deep challenges. Because guess what? As our federal government, we have some deep financial challenges right now. We have almost a $16 trillion debt, and we have a $1.3 trillion annual deficit running right now, for God's sakes, Mr. Mayor.
If I wanted to know something about economics or how things work or money supplies or any of that stuff, I would certainly ask you.
And you have.
And I have. And it's always sound advice and so on. But when you look at the problems we have, and one member of Congress isn't going to make a difference, but I just see these things, I look at it as, we have all these things like Simpson Bowles and all these other things that come up with all these good ideas, what has to be done, and then nobody will do them because people want free stuff and nobody wants to say no. And how do you overcome that? Because you know as well as I do that you'll be in office and these people will come at you and say, I don't want to lose my Social Security. I want I-98. I want, something on the St. Lawrence Seaway or something. I want a new battalion at Fort Drum. And your job is to get it. Your job is to convince the rest of Congress to spend the money on your district.
Well, and certainly now we'll be a fierce advocate for our district. But by the same token, right, we've gotten into this financial trouble by spending that's just out of control. And so I will tell you the one thing that I might slightly disagree is that, people will stop me and say, hey, we need to stop the out-of-control spending. We're worried about our kids, grandkids, people who haven't been born yet. Okay, that has changed over time. People say, how it seems like it's never going to stop. And so sometimes it's in the sense of just stop the spending. Sometimes in the sense you need to work across the aisle to make sure that we have a bipartisan agreement to stop the spending. But also it goes back to first principles, too. Why do we have a federal government? And on top of that, what should government be doing? Well, guess what, Mr. Mayor? A lot of these things are either military, which I'm a staunch defender of the military and want to make sure that we not only preserve but expand Fort Drum, but secondly, infrastructure. And so when you're talking about, making sure that we have a viable St. Lawrence Seaway, when we're talking about what I call 21st century infrastructure, you need to have cell phones and broadband coverage in the Adirondacks if you actually want to have people to live there. Okay,
Right.
and so whether it's going from here to Tupper Lake or going from the town of Hague down in Warren County up to Saranac, you got to have a situation where people can actually live there and live a part of the 21st century. And I don't think that that's a crazy notion that somehow we need to break the bank on. But we have out of control spending. And so let's talk about finance for a second, right? Mm-hmm. Back in the Clinton days, right? Clinton days, as a percentage, remember, it's all about how much does the federal government take out of the economy. Okay, how much does the federal government take out of the economy? And it was 18% of gross domestic product, right? GDP is the total amount of goods and services we produce as a country. 18%. Right now, under President Obama, we're at 24%. And the big debate between the presidential candidates is Mitt Romney says, let's get it to 20%, and the president says, let's keep it at 23%. That is the choice America faces at the president, down through the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House race here. And, we're going to have one of the, top races, just like we did last time. We were one of the 10 closest, and I'm sure Mr. Owens is not going to, he's going to put up a good fight. We're going to have a big choice.
Are you basically the same as Mitt Romney? I mean, are the same occupation?
No. I mean, what Mitt did was private equity. Companies that are already existing, he can, take them and make them private and make them more profitable and sell them. But I focused on companies that are either starting up or just flat out trouble, bankrupt, that are, either hit the wall financially. I've met him, but I don't know him.
Okay. He got in trouble back in Iowa, pre-Iowa straw poll, for equating a corporation with a person. Is a corporation a person?
A corporation is a separate legal entity, and so I don't think it actually has a pulse or a bloodstream or anything that would actually constitute. It might be a person for legal standards, but it's certainly not a person.
Okay. What about debt ceiling?
Was that a gotcha question? Would you classify the last one as a gotcha?
That was one of the 6 pages there. That's not a...
Well, why don't you start giving, who are asking these questions? Or which of your broad array of interesting characters
these are all
your listener base?
People. Right. And some of them I got from Glenn and from Kerry.
From the key people here at the corporation.
What about debt ceiling? Do you unequivocally say you'll vote against any increase in debt ceilings?
Well, because at some point in time we have to break the back of the debt ceiling. And so to say, the first question is, will you unequivocally raise it no matter what? And the answer is no to that. Okay, because we just can't continue on and say every time, well, we got more spending coming, time to raise the debt ceiling. So for me, the question becomes, okay, so what are you going to? Wonder what basis would you do to actually raise it? And you have to have a plan. Right, and you have to have a substantial, significant plan to go ahead and have a balanced budget, to go ahead and reduce the debt over the short term, and then over the long term it will take care of itself. And so right now, we don't have that. We do not have that right now, and we need to basically stop the out-of-control spending.
Okay. What about these pledges you signed? You signed Grover Norquist's no tax pledge?
I did.
And
because right now, when you have $3.6 trillion of spending and $2.3 trillion of revenue, we have a spending problem here. We have to have a government that we can actually afford in the United States. And so, do people like some of the programs? Absolutely. But right now, when Medicare, when Social Security are essentially either soon or not that far down the line going to be insolvent, I want to save these programs, and we have to take care of these programs. And on top of that, you have to get back to what you can actually afford. You do that in city council.
Right.
And one of the things you're proud of, right, is getting your bond rating, which is a reflection of actually fiscal, sanity, right? Getting things back in line, reducing your debt balance, raising your ratings, right? That's the same way we have to do. And I try to relate it to cities, to family budgets, to small businesses. The same thing with the federal government. And guess what? At some point in time, we won't have the avalanche of people who everybody around the world wants to own U.S. dollars and U.S. bonds. The moment that's not the case, we're going to have some deep, deep challenges up to our very way of living. That's how we live right now. It's out of control.
Mm-hmm. The administration says they want to do things for folks and just are asking the very richest among us to pay a little more.
The Buffett rule, which my opponent is in favor of, right? That is the Buffett rule. And, I've never understood the economic logic of the people we want right now. Like unemployment, the May numbers just came out over the last day or two in New York State. Lewis, Jefferson, St. Lawrence County basically are all at 10% unemployment. That's unacceptable. That's the stated. No, that doesn't count all the people who gave up looking for work or getting paid under the table and other ways that don't get caught in the actual number. So it's probably closer to 15+%. That's here in North Carolina. That's unacceptable. So I don't understand why people say, you know what, we're doing so well with the president and our current congressman, 10% unemployment is great, let's keep going. And that's unacceptable to me, and I think it's unacceptable to most people on our listener land here.
Okay. Tomorrow I've got to interview your opponent, Ms. Green.
Sure.
Never met her before. My sole contact with her was a 5-minute phone call on the air, so I don't know much about her other than what I read.
Did you see her at any of the parades we went to or anything like that?
No.
You didn't see her?
I was in a different section of the parade.
You're too busy hanging out with the alpacas?
Yes, exactly. But some people have wondered that And they've wondered on this show, Duff and others, that maybe she's a shill for the DCCC, that it's a put-up campaign to discredit you or to embarrass you or to perhaps dethrone you. Because she obviously on the surface does not have the resources financially to run a congressional campaign. She just moved back to the area, although she does have roots in the area. I don't dispute that. But do you think there's something fishy about that whole thing?
Oh, I don't buy into all the observation. I mean, look, we take the race quite seriously, and that's why we're working. And as you know, we do this 7 days a week. We're working quite hard all over the district. You know, like we'll be here in Watertown today and tonight, and then first thing in the morning, 5 a.m. probably, we'll be out to Glens Falls. And then we'll be over to Saratoga, and then Friday we'll be in Albany with Liz, and then doing events in Plattsburgh, and then Saturday here, and then back over to Hudson Falls. I mean, we work very, very, very. Liz Benjamin.
Oh my God!
There you have it.
Yeah,
and so we work quite hard, and so we're taking every opportunity to get our message out, and we take the challenge here in the primary quite seriously. We've been doing mailings. We've taken this quite seriously. So I let the people speculate in terms of what.
Are you hoping that Liz throws you as many softballs as she did the congressman the other day?
Yes, I am.
Because that was pretty. Those were hanging curveballs she threw up there.
But it's a great opportunity to Liz because she's statewide. I mean, it's YNN, and so the folks, and so we'll be there on Friday. So if some of your listeners want to check it out on Friday night, please do.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about Congressman Bill Owens next because he's obviously the prime target. But first, we have to do some commercials. We'll be back with more after these messages.
The News and Talk Authority. WATN AM 1240. It's all you need to know.
FX Caprera Car Companies cares about the community.
There'll be a benefit for Mike Peebles Friday, July 13th at the Brownville Legion from 7 to midnight. A pulled pork dinner offered by the Jefferson County Children's Home. Tickets will be sold before and at the door. Donations accepted.
When you're the best, people know it. When you compare NewsJunkie.com with other so-called news and event sites, the difference is crystal clear. For late-breaking local, regional, and national news, there's no better web location than at NewsJunkie.com. Everything works. The layout, the text, the pictures, video, webcams. Plus, NewsJunkie people have the amazing ability to cover the things that matter to you most. You know, the weather, local sports scores with pictures, updated obits, and whatever is happening in the North Country. Your news source is right on your desktop, always updated while you're at home or work. It's the site your coworkers use, your sister uses, your neighbors, your parents, your friends, and yes, even your dog uses NewsJunkie.com. Good dog. People depend on NewsJunkie.com during the day and through the night. It's become a part of our daily lifestyle. You know the feeling. What will I see on NewsJunkie.com today? Are you a fan of news that's spelled with a big fat C? Of course you are, because nothing else comes close. Make it a part of your busy day, so you're always in touch with the things that matter most. NewsJunkie.com. Spell it with a big fat Z.
I love NewsJunkie.
I love the Clubhouse restaurant.
That's no surprise. You go there all the time.
Well, that's because they've got great food for less.
Nothing wrong with that. And now, thanks to you and me talking about it all the time, the Clubhouse is no longer the city's best-kept secret for a great meal for less.
I noticed. Now I see all my friends at the Clubhouse.
That's because they love to spend less on a great breakfast, lunch, or dinner, like their hearty breakfast special, which starts at just $3.99. Plus, they have the best lunch specials in town, everything from a BLT to beef barbecue. And nothing on the lunch menu is more than $7.99.
No, that's real value.
And it tastes great, too, like their dinner specials, large portions for $9.99 or less.
That's great. Nothing on the dinner menu is more than $9.99. Unbelievable.
I'm glad you're happy, including their delicious turkey dinner, baked lasagna, fried ocean clam dinner, and more, all under $9.99.
Don't exclude the little ones, because they have a kids menu, too.
Stop by for Fish Fry Fridays or come by for their endless Sunday buffet for only $7.99. $6.99 for seniors and children on Sunday. You'll love the sports team inside the Clubhouse, complete with TVs everywhere. So for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, bring your appetite to the Clubhouse restaurant right next to Sundance Leisure, right on out of Washington Street. See them on Facebook.
Open 7 days a week.
The Olympic Games are almost here. On July 27th, the Summer Olympic Games are coming to the historic city of London. Watch the world's greatest athletes and see the world at its best.
Misty May and Kerry Walsh, gold medal champions.
With unforgettable moments and stories.
Usain Bolt winning by daylight. History for Michael Phelps.
Don't miss the biggest television event of the year, the London Olympic Games, beginning July 27th on NBC.
Outer Washington Street in Watertown is your automotive superhighway. You'll find FX Caprera Dodge Chrysler Jeep, FX Caprera Volkswagen, FX Caprera Kia, Caprera Brothers Honda, and the original FX Caprera used car superstore. Your automotive superhighway, Outer Washington Street in Watertown.
Shut up, I'm begging you, or I'm going to go home.
You'll surprise somebody, don't do that.
AM 1240.
Imus in the morning.
WATN.
All righty, we're back on a hotline here, back with Matt Doheny, who's the candidate for the Republican nomination for U.S. Congress in the North Country District, and that race is on next Tuesday, and that's an unusual situation to have a June primary, but the federal races are being determined then, and so it's June 26th from noon to 9 here in the North Country. There's also a U.S. Senate primary with 3 candidates running for the Republican nomination, the right to run against Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. Would you want a piece of that race? That's a tough one.
Well, I appreciate you reminding everybody that I'm not sure when was the last time we had a primary in June.
I think Rocky was governor.
It might be before I was alive.
Yeah, they moved him to September for some political reason, and they moved him back because of the military ballot issue. But then the state is holding their other primary in September.
Well, you think about it, we had the presidential primary in April, then you had the local school board elections in May, and then you have this primary, and then
a lot of democracy.
And then you have the September and then November election.
Senate primary.
Well, you might not have seen. I came out and endorsed Wendy Long this morning, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I don't know if that hits your news wire yet in your 24/7 multimedia world that you can't commandeer.
I've been doing so many other things this morning. I've been show prep and all that.
We came out and we endorsed Wendy this morning.
You did? Good. Yes. Well, she's going to win that, I think.
We certainly hope so. And, she's been up here in the North Country quite a bit. I've personally been with her in Glens Falls, in Plattsburgh, in the Saranac Lake area, in Canton, and in Watertown. So she's worked hard.
She's never come to visit me.
You know what? Maybe I'll put a good word in here.
Okay.
Do you think you could get Miss Long and Senator Gillibrand in the studio with you here?
Probably not.
Let's try it. That's a goal for us.
Okay, that would be a good goal. You're running against Congressman Bill Owens, a longtime Plattsburgh attorney, turned politician relatively late in life.
Sure.
Got in 2009. We all know the circumstances there. He was on Liz's show the other day and describes himself as a moderate, a centrist, I believe he meant to say, and that's a recurring theme. And he talks about how people want everybody to get along in Washington, and he presents a demeanor that really comes across as quite congressional. I mean, he's good-looking, he's tall, and he speaks well, and obviously probably was good in his field over the years. And so he comes across, that's his narrative. Moderate, centrist.
Well, I wasn't sure if it was a narrative or you're actually laying out his commercial for him, Mayor. Wow.
Well, that may be, but
that was quite.
Campaigns are about narrative, and that's the one he's presenting.
I just want to remember that you are supporting me. Just want to remind you.
I know, but what's the narrative that you want to present about him?
The narrative is, I am a business guy. I've actually been successful, lived the American dream. Grew up in Little Alex Bay. Worked my way through school and became successful through the business world. That I am the hardest working guy running for Congress in the United States. I mean, we're out here 7 days a week, and that type of deep knowledge from everyone, what's going on in Messina to Rouse's Point, down to Ballston Spa and back over to Lowville, it takes a lot of hard work to make sure that you can go ahead and effectively represent the people in this vast, it's about 17,000 square miles. It's a big district. And so, you know what, the needs in Ballston Spa in the Saratoga area are not the needs of Fort Drumland or up in the Adirondacks, whether it be Lake Placid, down to Mayfield in Fulton County. And so that is the narrative in terms of saying, and on top of that, this is a,
that's your narrative.
Republican conservative area, though. And the reality is that when he votes for Obamacare, when he's in the most partisan vote we've had certainly in the last 2 Congresses, where no Republican, or maybe only one, but no Republican voted. Absolutely, that is a harshly partisan bill that changes how we deliver health care and people's freedoms, and that's what's the challenge. I mean, think about it. I mean, do you think the Supreme Court's going to overturn the Obamacare decision next week when they make the ruling?
I was talking to Justice Kennedy the other day, but it was about golf or something. We really didn't get into that. No, listen, I don't know about that, but I know what you want your narrative to be. Mm-hmm. I want to know how you want to portray him, because campaigns are about creating a narrative and an image about your opponent, defining your opposition. You know the drill. You've been to the candidate schools. And how are you going to define him?
Well, Mr. Owens can talk about all the moderate whatnot, but when push comes to shove, when it comes down to raising taxes, when it comes down to voting for a harshly partisan Obamacare bill, when it comes down to dealing with trying to change the regulatory state that we've just grown up around us, and you as a bar owner complain about this every week. Right now, there was an act that was put before Congress called the REINS Act. And what it did was change the burden. Because right now, Congress passes a law, goes to the relevant government agency, and they come up with rules. And the only way right now to stop those rules becoming the effective law of the land is for both houses of Congress the same day to veto them. Guess how many times that's happened, Mayor? Never. What this does is flips it over. Any regulation that has a $100 million impact on the American economy, which is a lot, but there's 313 million people, so it's pretty much any regulation that impacts us in any way, shape, or form in any meaningful way has to go to Congress to get positively approved. So people hide. Congressmen and senators hide all the time. Well, that's the bureaucracy. We can't change that. This changes it. It passed the House, but Bill Owens voted against it. So he's not in favor of curtailing regulations. He wants to raise taxes. And so that's not a really bipartisan, moderate fella. That's someone who, when push comes to shove, wants to go ahead and reduce the opportunity for business people. Because right now, when you have 10% unemployment in the North Country, right, Jefferson, St. Lawrence, and Lewis counties, we need to make sure we have growth. And guess what? If a business growing there, they will hire people. I understand that. I'm afraid our current congressman does not.
All right, let's talk about Waits. He's made the news, and one incident was last year. He was ticketed for driving 84 miles an hour on a dark, winding road through the middle of the Adirondacks. It's a big district, as you said. It was pretty much downplayed in the media, downplayed by your campaign. But as a citizen, these people pass laws, although not that law. Maybe, does he think he's above the law? Is it dangerous? Is it inherently dangerous? They make an issue out of some incidents you had in 04 with boating. Isn't driving through the Adirondacks at that speed in the middle of the night as dangerous? Some of your supporters have told me that. You want to make an issue of it now?
Look, I mean, those types of things, like, there are such deep issues with the country, and whether it's the debt, spending, health care, and a million issues beyond that, I'll let people, to bring those issues up, but, we're focused on actually making a clear choice, and that's the point here. If successful, I'll have the Republican, Independents, Conservative lines, giving voters a clear choice, one-on-one, which direction do we want the North Country and really the country to go. And that's what we're focused on like a laser, Mr. Mayor.
I'll give you another chance to take a whack at him here. The trips to Taiwan and Israel that he and his wife went on that were ostensibly paid for by lobbyists. He says he paid back the Taiwan money. I don't know what happened there. Is he somebody who just got into office just to be a political tourist? Is that basically it? That to enjoy the perks of the office, the deferential treatment that you get, the congressional whatever it is you get down, and he takes the trips. I mean, was anything served by that trip? And isn't there a problem when it becomes a family vacation?
The reason I'm trying to go to Congress, Mayor, is certainly not for that purpose. I mean, that's the last thing that I want to accomplish. And what I can tell the people and promise the people, which I have and I will continue to do, is that I'm certainly not going to be taking, lobbyist set up and lobbyist funded trips over to foreign countries, no less, to somehow, have that type of experience. I mean, that's not what I'm in favor of. And, on top of that,
had something to do with advocating for internet gambling, didn't it? That was Aldamado's pet issue.
I don't know, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So, do you think it's fundamentally wrong, though? Do you think? I know they have the reason. Is it fundamentally wrong?
No. The reason that they changed the rules is after Jack Abramoff scandal to make sure that lobbyists don't set these things up and to remove that altogether. And I just want people to know that there will never be an issue with that. There will not be lobbyists sponsored, coordinated, or whatever trips for me, even if they're a former Republican senator. Not going to happen with me.
Okay. No trips to Taiwan.
Again, no lobbyist sponsored trips.
Okay. Very good. The narrative they want to cast you in, Wall Street guy, radical right-winger, insensitive to the needs of average people, wild and crazy guy, and so on. How do you project the image that you want to project when obviously, as you found out in March with the following you around to restaurants with cameras, did that catch you by surprise that, in an unguarded moment, all of a sudden, a couple weeks later, they're calling you asking for your comment? I mean, that was classic gotcha.
It was classic gotcha, and it's surprising. And certainly,
but who did it? It was not journalists.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
And you had no idea that it was going on?
No, without question. And so that's the point, is that, we want to have a debate. And I think, and hopefully Mr. Owens joins me in this. We'll have a real debate on the issues. And, when we talk about, okay, let's talk about, where he stands and where I stand and what's right, not only for the North Country, but for our nation. And let's talk about that. And I'm going to encourage him to do the same. And hopefully he lives up to his word, saying, let's talk about the issues and not get on all the other extraneous issues that really aren't going to change people's lives. Because when you have 10% unemployment and the underemployment is much greater and gas prices at $3.50 or $3.60, and we have all the challenges that we do as a country, like this is the time, especially in a presidential year, to have a full-throated debate as to where we're going as a country. I think we're going in the wrong direction with the president, and I think Mr. Owens is going right along with him.
So when those issues come up, as they will, whether it's the Gawker thing or whether it's past incidents in your life that they want to form a narrative on, your basic response will be, none of that's important.
Well, no, we're going to hit it head on like we have. And, you know, when people want to talk about that, look, you got to judge the person in totality. You got to judge their character, but also going out so people can actually meet me one-on-one and be like, well, that's you, as opposed to this image or this fake image that the Democrats want to portray. And so that's part of the detail of retail campaigning. That's why we go to so many darn parades and meet so many people. And, you know, you and I have done this before. Go around and meet the people on different floats, from the FFA to the local, farm supply tractor folks and everything in between, to meet folks and to make sure they know that you're actually the person that you really are, as opposed to this caricature that people do for political hit.
Is there anything in your life that you really regret or would have done differently?
Well, certainly, like the boating incidents, obviously I regret and would have done differently. Clearly, and I've been, again, remember the way that came out? I actually just delivered that over to the Watertown Times personally to make sure that everybody knew that before our primary 2 years ago. Well, guess what? It was fully vetted. I won the primary, and obviously, but for our third party friend, that we probably would have won the election in November of 2010 as well. And because people have to remember, when you talk about with Bill Owens, he got the smallest percentage of any winning congressman in the country at 47.5% in 2010. That is the smallest. That is number 435 of all the congressmen. And people need to remember that, again, I've worked quite hard, as you know, behind the scenes to make sure that people understand, whether you're conservative, Republican, or independents, Tea Party and beyond, that we can unify this part of the spectrum, so to speak, and to give voters a clear choice, that we have a pretty darn good chance to bring this seat back here to Watertown, and that people who understand what's going on will understand that that's a great thing for this region.
How do you reconcile, in your personal life and so on, the nastiness that campaigns inherently bring, and the invective and the tactics used in not just your race but everybody's?
Sure.
And we've seen how people have been brought down in this state, sometimes with their own help, like Weiner and Lee and others, sometimes maybe not entirely fair, but things are made out of things that a generation or two ago would have just been nothing. I mean, somebody told me a story recently about back in the 70s, they saw the Senate Majority Leader in Albany come stumbling out of a bar and fall down and crawl down the sidewalk. It was never news, because in that era, it just wasn't. Yeah, but all of a sudden now, whether you're in a restaurant, whether you're just doing something, and you get caught in an awkward pose or something like that, all of a sudden it's a big thing, and they're writing the narrative on it. How do you reconcile that? I mean, when I ran, you have a mom who obviously is proud of you and has to read some of this and so
Sure.
on. Fiance in your case, all of, how do you make it work? I mean, how is it worthwhile to do this?
Well, you just have to be tough, because that unfair and totally biased and sometimes totally wrong or out of context things will be said, will be portrayed. And that's the challenge. I mean, that's why, unfortunately, the state of politics is not civil. And look, we live in a 24/7 news cycle. That there was never a thing called blogs, where a mayor of the largest city in the congressional district would have their own blog. I mean, you can lament it. It's just where we are, and you have to make sure that you go ahead and put your positions out there and fight the fight, so that people have a better chance to know you. Because you know what? I believe my policies in the direction that I want to help take the North Country, and by extension our country, will help the people here in the North Country, will be positive for the country as a general.
By the way, we have to take a picture for to send in at the microphone, and we'll send that over to News Junkie. And but that's basically how it works. Something as simple as that. Now, in this case, it's innocuous because you're in a studio, but it can get bad, as I know too.
Sure, and but you have to fight through, and you have to make sure that people understand who you are, and do everything you can to make sure that your correct positions and really who you are as a person get out there. And if you do, then you should have a great chance to be successful, like I think we will here on June 26th. Remind your voters, your listeners, to go out there and vote on June 26th, and ultimately against our current congressman on November 6th.
All right, we got to do a commercial break. We'll be back with more in a moment.
Here's former Republican Arkansas governor and presidential candidate Mike Huckabee. Weekdays 1 to 3. The Mike Huckabee Show on AM 1240 WATN.
Hi, this is Brian Perkins with FX Caprera Car Companies. Are you new to the area? Worried about the North Country weather taking a toll on your ride? If so, call me, 315-788-5427, to discuss options on keeping your car running and looking new. Or stop by and see us at FX Caprera in Watertown, New York.
Remember the good old days when you actually had a handyman you could call when you needed work done on the house? You know the type, honest, hardworking, and able to do a variety of work. And nowadays, it's harder and harder to find a contractor you can trust. Well, Taylor Brothers General Contracting is a throwback to the days of honest work and a good name. They are fully insured and offer free estimates. You may have seen them around town doing roofing or decking, but Taylor Brothers do so much more. Use them for interior remodels, carpentry, flooring, siding, windows, and doors. Taylor Brothers are also the perfect choice for new construction or commercial jobs. Let them help you get your rental property fixed up for your new tenant. It's honest service at an honest price. Call Taylor Brothers Contracting today at 777-5684 so they can get started on your next project. It doesn't matter the size of the job. Develop a real relationship with a contractor that wants to be the one you call for every job. Call Taylor Brothers General Contracting at 777-5684. Fully insured and eager to earn your business today.
Don't wait to save big on America's biggest mattress brands. The huge Metro Mattress 4th of July holiday sale event is going on now. Where a Serta Queen mattress with all foam construction, including 2 full inches of incredible viscoelastic memory foam, is just $399.99. The complete Queen set is just $699.99. A Kathy Ireland Home Ultra Premium Queen mattress is only $599.99 with a foam perimeter and individually encased coils. The complete Queen set's only $899.99. With our Supreme Savings event, save up to $600 on a Tempur-Pedic Tempur-Cloud Supreme mattress set. Qualified buyers save even more with 0% financing till June 2013 and get free Metro Mattress delivery. Free delivery requires a pre-tax purchase of $599.99. Supreme Savings event ends July 8, 2012. See store for full details. Celebrate and save. Don't miss the 4th of July holiday sale event going on now at Metro Mattress on Arsenal Street in Watertown Commons Plaza at the entrance to the Salmon Run Mall.
Discover the only zoo in the world dedicated to New York's wild animals and wild places. The New York State Zoo at Thompson Park. Get nose to nose with black bears. Watch the playful antics of rare wolverines and explore the wonders of animals in the children's farm. The zoo's open daily from 10 to 5, 7 days a week, and there's so much to do at the zoo, and it's fun for the whole family. Host your child's next birthday party at the zoo. Learn more about memberships and special events by visiting NewYorkStateZoo.org. For family fun, the New York State Zoo at Thompson Park is the place to be.
It's Ram Truck Month at FX Caprera Dodge Chrysler Jeep.
Ram. There's over 200 Ram trucks available. Ram. Come test our metal.
When the North Country shops trucks,
Ram.
They shop at FX Caprera Dodge Chrysler Jeep. And yeah, it's got a Hemi.
If people are talking about it,
the president will say, well, we got bin Laden. It wouldn't have happened if he had his way.
We're talking about it. AM 1240 WATN.
All right, back on the hotline here with our guest, Matt Doheny, Republican candidate for Congress in the 21st Congressional District, which is the North Country District. I don't want to confuse you with the numbers, but Mr. Doheny, part and parcel of being a Republican means you can talk about pro-business, anti-regulation, low taxes, balanced budgets, but you also got all the social issues that hang on and various defensive marriage bills and litmus tests on abortion and everything else. You always struck me as kind of a live and let live type of guy. How do you reconcile your clear interest in fiscal issues with the fact that to be that party's nominee, you got to carry a lot of other social issue baggage?
Well, I think that when you think about the Republican Party generally, that there's sort of traditional three legs of the stool: social issues, as you just talked about, but also financial, being a fiscal conservative, then also national security wise as well. And I think the third issue was very clear. When we had the challenge with Russia, when we had the Cold War, communism was an existential threat literally every day. I mean, that's what I remember growing up, watching Ronald Reagan in the presidential debates, whether it be versus Carter in the 80s or Mondale in 84, where that was the question. What are you going to do about nuclear proliferation? And so the national security issue obviously plays to an important piece up here as well, with so many veterans and obviously our fighting men and women in the 10th Mountain Division as well.
Wow! Now you just turned a question about gay marriage into a dissertation on the Cold War, and that's all very good, but you're going to be pressed on those issues, are you? Because the president's come out in favor of same-sex marriage. And it's all basically held up over this DOMA thing, this Defensive Marriage Act, as I understand it.
Right, and I'm in favor of the Defensive Marriage Act. Remember, that was President Clinton that signed it in 1996, and I don't think President Clinton's come out and disavowed it since then.
In favor of?
I'm sure there's a lot of people. It's the law of the land. It got passed through both houses of Congress.
No, but I mean in favor of same-sex marriage.
And so, the Defensive Marriage Act basically says, can each state, go ahead and regulate its own, own business within the state. I mean, when it comes to the gay marriage question, in large part in New York State, it's been answered. I mean, it's There's been a duly elected body of state assemblymen and senators that they passed it, and Governor Cuomo signed it. The Defense of Marriage Act says should people in Nebraska have to live with that, and that's what I say no to.
Okay. And abortion just keeps lingering, doesn't it? All sorts of laws always proposed to try to limit the rights of it and test the parameters of Roe versus Wade. Do you want Roe versus Wade overturned?
Well, when I tell people that when you get to vote on in Congress, I'll get a 100% pro-life voting record. Those things that actually come before Congress, that's where I shake out on the issues.
Okay. Any other great social issues you're considering?
Guns. Right now, look, there's a clear choice.
Okay.
And certainly I'm a lifetime NRA member. I believe in the Second Amendment. I'm very excited that the Supreme Court reaffirmed that Second Amendment truly is a liberty just like speech and the right to free assembly. But here's the difference, Mayor. Here's the difference. I'll vote for Speaker John Boehner, who believes in gun rights. Mm-hmm. My opponent, Bill Owens, he votes for Nancy Pelosi, who does not believe in the Second Amendment, who wants to limit gun rights as Speaker. Exactly. And that's the first vote you'll cast as a member of Congress starting in January of 2013. And that's a big difference. People need to, if you believe in guns, you can't vote for Nancy Pelosi for Speaker.
Yeah. Now, Ms. Pelosi has been the boogeyman, if you will, for North Country Republicans the last couple of years. Is that wearing thin, though?
I don't know if it's wearing thin. She's certainly the minority leader, and so right now, in a presidential year, it's really where does the Representative Owens, where does he stand with President Obama? President Obama's policies in terms of the stimulus which failed, the bailouts,
right.
Obamacare, which clearly, obviously, my opponent was a key member to make sure they got him down there to vote in favor of in November of 2009 as his first vote, and all the other job-killing policies like cap and trade, card check, and the list goes on and on.
Okay. You were almost a lawyer, I guess.
I went to law school. Yeah, I'm a business guy, but I did attend law school. Absolutely.
And you follow Supreme Court and so on. Looking at the 9 justices, who's your favorite and your least favorite among the 9?
Well, the least favorite because we have some new. I'm not sure where with Justice Kagan and Sotomayor. I'm not really sure, where they shake out.
He's a Yankee fan.
You got to like the Yankee fan though. So there's some positives there. But on the other side, I certainly have deep respect for Chief Justice Roberts and certainly Judge Scalia. I have deep respect for.
So
as
who's
well.
your least favorite? Ginsburg.
Yeah, but she seems like she's a nice lady. Maybe if you had to pick one, I don't know if it's Breyer. He has the whole Harvard law thing going on. I don't know. I don't know the liberal justices well enough to really have an impression.
Okay. Obviously, that's
and obviously that's going to be a huge decision still in the immigration bill and health care that's going to be passed down before the Supreme Court takes the end of their term. Big issues that it will frame the presidential and probably by extension this congressional race.
Politics, like anything, is partly about selling the sizzle. Mitt Romney doesn't come across as particularly exciting. If you had to go out in a golf foursome on a Sunday, and one choice was Romney, Boehner, and Mitch McConnell, and the other was Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and Joe Biden, which foursome would you rather be in?
To play golf, I always want to learn from other people who don't agree with me. That would be a fun foursome with me. And you said me, Obama, Biden. Who's the fourth?
Bill Clinton.
That's bipartisanship right there. I'll pull the sticks out and go out there and play 18 with those guys anytime.
The other one's just too dull.
I think it would be a unique opportunity to the president, vice president, former president to have a full exchange of ideas as to why their policies are wrong and why we need to take the country in a different direction and do it in a lively way. Biden went to Syracuse. I'm sure we're both Syracuse University fans. So there you go.
Do you think Barack Obama was born in this country?
Yes, I do.
Okay. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Here's former Republican Arkansas governor and presidential candidate Mike Huckabee. Weekdays 1 to 3. The Mike Huckabee Show on AM 1240 WATN.
My mommy and daddy love their FX Capera Kia. We hardly ever go to the gas station. Kias get great gas mileage, and Dad smiles a lot more. And I look cool getting dropped off at school. My family loves the FX Capera Kia, and I want to see ya in the Kia.
Start the music. We want you. Without you, the world is not the same. Yes, we are talking to you. You who is not afraid to get your hands dirty. You who makes the world run better. You pipe fitters, plumbers, mechanics, and drivers. We are ThousandIslandsHelpWanted.com. And we need you! It's a little loud. Skilled laborers of all kinds, we love you. Fireworks! ThousandIslandsHelpWanted.com. Long name, amazing results.
Oh, look, honey, your picture is in the dictionary.
Really?
Under the word ironic.
Ironic.
Yeah, as in, isn't it ironic that you, an unemployed IT specialist...
That's me.
Isn't it ironic that you are using neither information nor technology to look for a job?
What are you saying?
ThousandIslandsHelpWanted.com.
They have jobs online for me?
They have more IT job listings than they have applicants.
Should I go there?
Well, yeah, unless you want your picture under another I word.
Which would be?
Ignoramus.
Right.
ThousandIslandsHelpWanted.com for IT. Long name, amazing results.
Hey folks, Tom Park along with my friend Fred Courier right here at the Fusillo Auto Mall, Fusillo Ford. What a great month we had in May. Took in a lot of trade-ins, and the reason is the new Ford selection and savings are a knockout.
You know, Tom, we had our best new car month in years. We were the local area's #1 Ford dealer. Fortunately, Ford was able to replenish us at the end of May for June. Focus, Fusion, Escapes. Other dealers are out. We have them, Tom.
You want to knock them out at the pump, this is the time, folks. These cars get close to 40 miles per gallon. Talking about the new Fiesta, the Focus, the Fusion, the Escape even has great gas mileage for an SUV. Go online to Fusillo.com. You can see all of our new and pre-owned inventory right there online. At Fusillo.com and mobile on your smartphone. You can also apply for your financing, so don't prejudge your credit. Something for everybody this month. Just take Route 81 to exit 41, Route 11 right here in Adams. Selection and savings, that's the 1-2 punch this month at Fusillo's. It's the price knockout. It is.
Ford and Adams huge.
When you're running a facility, safety is key. That's why Grainger offers over 70,000 diverse safety products. And that number's growing. Everything from personal protection gear and safety signs to online safety training tools. All to help you reduce injuries and downtime. And keep up with regulations. You might say safety's our middle name. Yep. Grainger, safety, Grainger. You get the idea. Cut back on costs and worries. Call quickgrainger.com or stop by a branch today. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
At FX Caprera, we have 2 reasons to celebrate. First, it's summer in the North Country. And second, FX Caprera Dodge Chrysler Jeep was just named the #1 retail sales volume dealer in all of upstate New York. I wonder why we sold so many cars. Come find out.
The North Country spells news. AM 1240. WATN. Watertown. Depend on it.
All right, we're back with Matt Doheny here with the last 7 minutes or so. We got a bunch of minor questions here, but one person writes in, he says, over 1/3 of Alex Bay residents, students that is, students are on food stamps. And he tries to say, you know, you're a multimillionaire living nearby. Is this right? And do you want to cut these people off food stamps?
Well, no. What I want to make sure is that people have jobs. Again, when unemployment is 10% through the North Country, no matter even St. Lawrence, Jefferson, or Lewis counties, that is what stops people needing the federal assistance to actually have good paying jobs. And so it hurts me to know that my hometown, that high a percentage of people are actually having tough times, that actually need the federal public assistance. You know, I mean, I didn't grow up with too much. We had a perfectly fine, family. You know, my dad was a traveling salesman, traveled all over the North Country, worked hard. We didn't take vacations, worked hard every day. And so with that background, have I been successful? Yeah. I mean, it's because I grew up in a small town where, I knew mom was going to be there for me, that I came home after school and that played with, my local kids in the neighborhood and actually had those types of values, that we had dinner together every night. But yeah, and so that's what I want. You take that skill set and that hometown knowledge down to Washington. So, you know what? These are the policies that give us growth. Again, right. when companies and people are going ahead and taking risk and growing, guess what? That's how we get people back to work. And so my goal is that everybody in Alex Bay does not need public assistance, that everybody is flourishing, working either in the Bay or in the surrounding areas and have a great chance to have great careers like I have. That's the goal. That's why I'm running for office, Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever paint your mother's steps?
We sure did.
Oh, okay.
We sure did. If there's one thing that, when people know these TV ads working where everyone's like, why didn't you paint your mother's step? I go, uh-oh. So we certainly did. And we probably need to do it again before too long.
Yeah. We get a lot of chatter in this area about Interstate 98. That's the dreamed-about road from Watertown to Plattsburgh. Extraordinarily expensive, environmental impacts galore, all of that stuff. Can a country that's going broke, is it really right to be out advocating for that kind of stuff?
Like in a perfect world with unlimited cash and where where our fiscal coffers were flush, sure. But as you said, it's not the time right now. But here's the big but: we have to improve our infrastructure here, Mayor. I can speak with authority whether it's Route 11, Route 3, 81, Route 8, Route 29, Route 28. And I take all these from, Watertown all the way through Plattsburgh down to Glens Falls literally every day. And we need to make sure we have the type of infrastructure because we are in a global competition for ideas, for people, and for capital. And when it's really hard to move around, when when we have assets that need to be taken to the highest level and aren't, guess what? People make decisions with their lives and their businesses that might not be very positive for the North Country. So if we can't get I-98 done, we need to make sure that Route 11 in particular is as robust and is very friendly to making transportation work for all of us in the North Country.
Now, I know you're good with money. How much is it going to take for your side to run a campaign? How many millions?
We really don't focus on those numbers. We just got to make sure that we have the opportunities. But it's going to be in the millions. There's no question about that.
3, 4?
Hopefully less. But, we have a new district. We didn't really talk about that where the 21st is 60% the old 23rd, but 40% is new. So Warren County, where Glens Falls is, Washington County, where Fort Ann and Fort Edward are, and we have 90-some-odd thousand people in Saratoga County, Ballston Spa, just north of Saratoga Springs, and Johnstown and Gloversville. So that's all new. And so obviously, both Mr. Owens and I are starting from scratch there. He's not the congressman, and I didn't run there either.
Okay, now you have a big fundraiser tonight.
We do, and we have great supporters in the area, and in particular, we're going to do it over at the ranch, and we're going to have some fun with it, hopefully as well. And
the ranch.
Doreen and Jody Garrett, people who are great businessmen in the area, whether it's Overhead Door, the Tilted Kilts, Otis Technologies down in Lions Falls. They own many businesses, including something near and dear to your heart, an actual place that serves alcohol, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Well, that's good. No, that sounds good. Now, is this getting money from well-to-do people is part of politics? Your opponent was on Wellesley Island the other day with the guy who owns Eastern Ambulance, raising a ton of money from that crowd. I would call it the Dave Mance hospital crowd or something. So he's obviously got access to things, too.
And that's the reality. It costs money because everybody says, well, run a TV ad, and, whether it's running in Watertown or Plattsburgh or down in Glens Falls and in Saratoga Springs, it costs money, and that's just the sad reality.
Well, we like to think anybody can run for office, but really you can't. I mean, if you don't have the resources coming in, because you have a career that allows you the flexibility to spend 3 years mostly on the road, and you have the personal resources to do it.
My mom always said, those who can serve should. Doesn't matter if you're running for city council, Watertown, school board in Alex Bay, or Congress. Those who can should serve. It's a huge sacrifice. I mean, certainly doing things like this all over the district, you know what? But that's worth it. And, people like myself, we're just trying to give our time and our service of the country, hopefully make it a little bit better place for our district and a lot better place in terms of what direction we're going. That's the challenge of this race.
Didn't Joe Kennedy say that, too?
What direction are we going, Mayor? This is huge. This is the big issue of the day, is that do we want to be more of a social welfare state in Europe, or we want to be a lean, trim, pro-market, free market entrepreneurial society?
But you can see why people feel disconnected from, because the only people who can effectively run, whether it's president or Congress, are people that obviously not only are obsessed with politics but have extreme wealth.
I don't buy that at all, because you can go out and you raise the money, and if you're a quality candidate, that happens. So I don't think that's the case. But look, it's a challenge, because part of it is your own personal sacrifice. You're out campaigning. You're not earning a living. You actually and that's a challenge.
And you work hard.
We work hard 7 days a week. You know that, Mayor. No one outworks us.
I've seen it.
Nobody outworks us 7 days a week, 18 hours a day, as much as we can get done.
All right, I'll swear to it on a Bible.
Well, on a personal, I appreciate your candor and your direct questions, Mayor, and it's been a treat, and I'm glad
we look forward to tomorrow with Kelly Green, and we're looking forward to seeing what the primary results are on Tuesday, noon to 9, correct?
Noon to 9, and any supporters want to come by the Italian American Club starting about 8:30 on the 26th, please come and have some food with us and look for the results and watch the results.
Pearl at midnight.
You got it. There you go, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for your time, Mayor.
Thank you so much. This has been the Hotline. You've been listening to it on AM 1240 WATN, Watertown, New York. The time 1 o'clock. CBS News coming up next. Have a great day.